Listen to the 48 Hours podcast for shocking murder cases and compelling real-life dramas from one of television's most watched true crime shows. Go behind the scenes of each episode with award-winning CBS News correspondents and producers in Postmortem, a weekly deep dive. Listen to 48 Hours wherever you get your podcasts.
We're fluffing the pillows for you. Hi, this is Anita Joyce here with Kelly Wilkness, and this is Decorating Tips and Tricks, episode 475, an interview with Zandra of Little Yellow Couch podcast. We're so excited to have you here, Zandra.
Thank you.
So I am so interested to know how you got started with the podcast. And your podcast has been going on for how long now?
We're in our 6th year.
Wow, that's quite a while.
But you guys have done it maybe for around the same amount of time, but you've like double the number of episodes.
So that's a long time.
It is a long time, yes.
And so and we've just been doing it for 4 years, by the way. How did you get started with the podcast?
Well, Little Yellow Couch started out as a slightly different business. It was a subscription box, and then it was just a blog for a while. And we just had a passion for interiors, and we were just trying to put our information, our ideas, our projects out there. This is back when I had a business partner, and we were kind of spinning our wheels because we were sort of hitting the blogosphere kind of late in the game. And so it was a little bit hard to find an audience and to get traction. But podcasts were kind of new. It took us a little while to figure out how to do a podcast about interiors because it's so visual, in a podcast it says no visuals. Right. So once we, though, kind of hit on the idea of interviewing people, other designers, about why our interiors matter to us, why beauty matters, like why is it not just sort of a superficial, inconsequential little hobby? Why do our interiors matter? And so we came up with the name Style Matters for the podcast that is then produced by Little Yellow Couch, and we have loved it ever since. It really it changed the game for us business-wise. Stopped doing the blog, stopped selling things, and just we do the podcast, and then other things have come out from that we'll probably get into later. But that's the beginning of it.
Oh, well, that's so interesting. And you're right. I mean, it was a very crowded field as far as blogs, but even with podcasts, there's still fewer podcasts than blogs. Yeah. And I just think it's so much more personable than a blog.
I love the medium. I love being in people's ears, and I love the intimacy of the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, so you kind of feel like you're there in the conversation. And that's why I, as a podcast listener, just love so many podcasts.
Me too. Definitely. I mean, I binge them like I do either Netflix or the way I read books. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Okay, so were you in the decorating or design space kind of before you started the blog and the podcast?
No. And my whole life has been kind of leapfrogging in weird ways from one thing to another. I'm just one of those people that just took a long time to figure out what she wanted to be when she grew up. I kind of came into it, I was coming off of being a stay-at-home mom. I had left my job because my second son, my youngest son, was diagnosed with some pretty significant special needs and disabilities. And so he just needed he was in the hospital a lot. He just needed a lot of attention. And it was I had just asked for a leave of absence from my job to do this, to stay home. And then right around that time, my husband got offered a job up in Massachusetts. We were living in Pennsylvania at the time. So once we moved, I didn't really have another job to go to, and I was trying to stay home anyway. So I did that for a while, and I loved it. But as anyone who is a parent knows, it's the hardest job in the world, and you don't have a lot of time for yourself or room for yourself when you're doing the parenting thing full time. So I needed something to do. This is sort of a story that I think a lot of people can relate to, and I've always been kind of a creator. I've always played around in my home. I've always redecorated. I've always painted just for fun, just for my own pleasure. And so I started making things and started making like home decor items. I made trays, frames, pillows, and I started selling them, applying to juried craft shows, selling them in Massachusetts and New York and Connecticut. And I did that for, I don't know, maybe 5 years. And that's where I met my business partner. She was doing a similar thing. And we were both getting burnt out on the making aspect of it because you can't scale it very easily. And if it takes me 5 hours to make a tray, you have to, there's only so many you can make in a week. And anyway, so we joined forces and then started Little Yellow Couch.
Well, that makes so much sense to me. And having a daughter with special needs, I completely understand that is something I actually chose to leave my career also.
Yes, we talked about that. And everyone, just so you know, Anita was a guest on my podcast, Style Matters. So I want everyone to go and check out that because we had such a lovely conversation. And yes, we did talk about, this issue of parenting a special needs child.
That's right. So it's very involved, and you can't just leave your child with anybody when they have certain needs. It has to be someone. I mean, when I first started, I had to be a nurse because she needed to be tube fed. So
yes,
or someone with medical experience. So I completely understand that. But I noticed that you have an art degree.
I have an acting degree, yes. I have a BFA.
Oh, I thought it was an art degree.
Yeah,
okay.
An acting degree. Yeah, I told you my life was a little leapfroggy. So I come from an artistic family, and I ended up going to a performing arts high school, and then sort of the path was just, I didn't even question it. Like, of course I'm going into the arts. And so I was most passionate about theater, so I went to a conservatory for 4 years just to study acting. And loved it, but I had no preparation whatsoever for the world beyond the acting training. And I'm sure they've changed that since I was there because learning how to find an agent, get a photographer, negotiate a contract, audition, all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's like 90% of the job, right? But they only taught us the acting part. So it was a very demoralizing experience leaving and being so young, 21 years old in New York, and not, I did have an agent. I was able to graduate and do a showcase and get an agent. But even then, there's just so much work you need to do yourself. And I got some jobs. I eventually got a job over in Europe, touring Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
So when you started your blog and the podcast, you had an interest in design, but you really in decorating, but you hadn't really worked any.
No, I hadn't. Okay. I'd done this. So I did the acting thing. Finally decided that I couldn't. The not knowing when the next job was coming was too. That was too difficult for me. So then I had to kind of reinvent myself, and so then I did quite a few different things. I got a couple of master's degrees, and all the while I'm moving to different homes and different apartments. And I have always loved it. I mean, I've loved it since I was a little girl, and I'm turning my bedroom closet into a city apartment, because I just creating a space that reflected my current interests and my passions and my values has just always been something that I have loved doing. So it came from that kind of very natural place. It did not come from any formal training.
That's so interesting. For Kelly and me too, we both came from a completely different background as well. So I get that, but we always had a passion for decorating. So, but I wanted to get the art degree, but my dad told me I was going to be poor and live in a van. So, so I thought maybe I won't go into art.
Right.
So it kind of
scared you off of it.
Right. So he said, I said, well, would I make money as an engineer? And he said, yes, you would. I said, okay, well, I don't want to live in a van, so I guess I'll do that. So,
right. It was so black and white back then, yeah.
It kind of was.
Yeah.
And I want to get back to hearing about your acting career.
Okay. Then I landed an audition for Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. It was going to be touring in Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. And I got the role of Honey, who is, there's only 4 people in the play if anyone's ever seen the movie. So the younger one did that. And so here I am in Europe touring. I mean, it was like, it was exactly what I had imagined I had wanted to do with my life. It was a very difficult play. It was very emotional, so it was very draining. It was 3 months, and you're doing, 6 or 7 shows a week, the same thing over and over again, where you're kind of having to kill yourself on stage a little bit emotionally. And I learned a lot about perseverance from that, and I learned a lot about resilience and being able to kind of show up
Mm-hmm.
every day in a way that I think translates to a lot of different jobs in life, a lot of different careers or endeavors.
So did you work more as an actor, or was that kind of the end of it?
I just decided, there's a great big world out there. Maybe there's something else I could do. And I picked up, I left, I moved to Chicago, just to kind of start a new life. And then, yes, trying to figure out who I was going to be took me a while.
So you always had this love of decorating. So I'm curious to know, how would you describe your decorating style?
My style is very active. I am constantly playing around with projects. And when I am in the middle of one, I'm already thinking about the next one. I'm sure you're similar, but it can be something small like, just rearranging stuff that's on a mantle or a bookcase, or it could be a little bit medium-sized project. Like right now, I'm painting the stairs that's going, up to my second floor in like a cheetah or a leopard pattern.
Stop it. That sounds gorgeous.
Yep. I'm very excited about it. And then, or sometimes it's a big, huge renovation project. Like my husband and I like to renovate together. So, be laying floors, laying tile, laying stone, painting, that kind of thing. So yeah.
He likes to do this?
He does like to do it, yes.
I'm so jealous.
Oh, yeah. And he's handy. He's taught me a lot about how to use the tool. Yeah. So that is really fun for us. But other than those big projects, it's just me, Mm-hmm. So my style, it's very active. It's very eclectic. I love traveling, and I definitely, when I'm out traveling, my eye is on pieces I can bring back into my home. You wouldn't necessarily know they're from my travels. They're not terribly touristy things, but I certainly know that's where they're from. No snow globes, no little Eiffel Towers, no. But there's sort of a lot of, because they're coming from travels, then that sort of adds to the eclectic nature of what you'll see on my walls or my bookshelves. And it's, I do like mid-century modern, but I also really like more like American farmhouse back from the early 1900s and
the real farmhouse.
The real farmhouse, yes, with the nicks and the scratches. And I love color and pattern. I'm definitely a maximalist. So I mean, that's kind of how I would describe it.
So if you could call it something, what would you call it?
Well, it's funny you should ask, because one of the things...
Because it seems like so much.
It is so much. And
I don't have a term for it.
I wasn't planning on bringing this up, but you kind of gave me the perfect opportunity, which is that one of the things that I offer for free on my website is a style finder, which is sort of a little game that you can play to kind of name your style, to define it. And I try to help people move beyond typical categories, like mid-century modern or farmhouse. I try to get people to understand that your style is naturally eclectic, because we are multifaceted human beings. So right now, my style, I would say, is old sea captain meets love poetry in India. I mean,
I love it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going on right now, which is sort of even the leopard print going up the stairs. Like I'm not going to get real leopard skin, right? But I can paint it, because maybe he would bring something like that back from when he, was sailing over to Africa.
So you really see somebody's decorating style as something that evolves over time and is not static.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes, I did have a Moroccan phase and a Tuscan phase.
Love it. Yep.
So I'm with you there. I'm totally with you there. And unfortunately, every time I've changed style, it's not been consistent with the old thing. So it kind of like was just throw everything out and start over kind of a thing. But I've been on a roll here for a while.
Good.
So. So, yeah, I'm not throwing anything else out anymore.
Hey, we'll be right back with the rest of the show, but keep listening so we can continue bringing you DTT. Pesto pork chops over Parmesan polenta. Not that easy to say, but oh, so easy to make with Green Chef. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit company for eating well, and we have such a great deal for you. You're going to save $250. Listen on for the details on that. Green Chef makes eating well easy for any lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat more balanced meals. We're getting into the busy holiday season, so it's a perfect time to have Green Chef help you out. Let Green Chef take the work out of eating clean this holiday season with their chef-crafted, nutritionist-approved recipes featuring fresh ingredients and nothing artificial. And you know what? You don't have to lose track of your healthy eating habits during the holidays. Every Green Chef customer gets a free session with their registered dietitians who will walk you through how to make clean eating work for you. So sign up for your free session and start on the road towards better health today. And that deal I want to tell you about, visit greenchef.com/DTT250 and use the code DTT250 for $250 off your order. So that's greenchef.com/DTT250 and use the code DTT250 for $250 off your order. Inevitably, with the new year come wellness goals. One very effective and easy to reach goal is to add Dose to your wellness regime. Dose is expertly formulated organic wellness shots that support your liver in one delicious drink. Formulated with ingredients clinically shown to support liver health. Potent turmeric, milk thistle, and ginger. There's 0 sugar and 0 calories. Did you know that your liver performs over 500 special functions? Since I learned all that my liver is doing, I started with Dose to support all those vital functions. I take a shot of refreshing Dose 2 times per week to combat everyday toxins from food, meds, alcohol, and unhealthy air. Since starting with Dose about a month ago, I am definitely feeling an overall improvement in my health. So if you want to give Dose a shot and invest in your health like I have, Dose is offering DTT listeners 15% off your first order, plus an additional 15% off if you subscribe for a monthly delivery. That's 30% off your first order. So go to dosedaily.co/DTT and use the code DTT. That's dosedaily.co.co/DTT and use the code DTT.
Okay, so you talk about Slow Style on your website, and I would like you to share with us, what is that?
Well, thank you for asking. I'm kind of passionate about it right now. So Slow Style is a framework that I've developed fairly recently, or at least I've been able to articulate it fairly recently, like within the last year. That's really a culmination of everything I've learned over these 5 to 6 years I've been doing this podcast, because my podcast is almost entirely interview-based with designers and stylists. So I've learned a lot, and I've also just learned so much because I play inside my own home constantly. And I'm just an avid reader of design principles, and, I've just picked up a lot of knowledge, but I really care about just everyday homeowners, just people who just want a beautiful space that's functional, that works well for them. People that don't have the money to hire an interior designer or to get the most expensive fine antiques or whatever. And so I'm trying to come up with sort of encapsulate the way I've been approaching decorating for the past 25 years, which is about when I got my first home, was when I was 25. So now you know how old I am. So, so Slow Style is basically founded on these 3 principles that I just believe have been true for me throughout everything I've done, which is 1, life-informed style, which means your lifestyle, whatever current phase you're in, needs to be supported by how you decorate your home. So if you've got a special needs child at home that, needs special equipment or needs to be able to reach things or be able to open things without, having good hand-eye coordination, whatever, then the choices that you make in your home and how you set it up need to be reflective of that. But the same is true for someone who is newly divorced, or someone who has children that are leaving the nest. So whatever life stage you are in, big or small, I just think our homes need to support us. And I think there are ways to do that, especially in the way we organize and declutter. The second principle behind Slow Style is that style is active, meaning you have to play in order to become creative and to become really good at those vignettes and those, shelfies that people take pictures of on Instagram. The only way to get really good at picking colors and patterns is to do it, I think, and to trial and error and to make mistakes and to learn from them. And So therefore, I do think of style as not being static. I don't think of creativity as being static, nor do I believe that you're just born with it or not. I really think you can develop it. And then the third principle is style evolves, which is what we've been talking about, that throughout our lives, our interests change, our passions change, our values change, and I don't believe we're ever done or finished decorating a home. It's an evolving process, and it should continue to reflect who you are, because we are hopefully we are continuing to evolve just as humans.
Yeah, I would add what you're saying. I mean, I think you're kind of working this in, is that it's really, it's good to be making mistakes when you're decorating, because that's also part of the process of how you learn. I mean, what you're talking about is moving things around, trying different styles, what works for my lifestyle. I think that's just fabulous advice for people, and just kind of to know that it's not just some perfect style you're going for, but something that suits your family. And you don't have to have it all together now. You're going to be able to add and subtract and move and evolve over time. I love that.
It's not about perfection at all, and I also believe that we can have beauty even if we're in the middle of chaos in the rest of our lives, right? Like, you don't have to wait for your dream home. You don't have to put it off until you retire or some magical someday. It can be now.
Right. And I think the more chaos somebody's life is in, the more important it is that their home be organized and a soft place to land, because you may not be able to control what's going on outside, but you can usually control what's going on inside. And I just think that retreat is so important.
That's such a good point. Yes, I agree.
Speaking of retreats, I want to hear about your retreats and your online course, so do tell.
Okay, so just a side note here. So Anita and we got to meet in person because I asked her to join me as sort of a guide on one of my retreats in Texas.
So fun. I had such a fun time.
So the retreats were really the first thing that kind of came out of the podcast. We wanted to... We were really developing a great community of listeners, people who are really, really interested in the substance behind the style, the stories. And so we decided that it would be really fun to start meeting some of these people in person. And so in 2018, I think we had our first retreat in New York, not in the city, but in the Hudson River Valley area where there's a lot of antiquing. And then, we had a retreat in Texas and then one in Oklahoma. And then the coronavirus hit. And so all of last year, nobody was doing anything. But the retreats are sort of where my heart lies. They are just so enriching. And basically, it's like a two-night retreat, usually over a weekend, where we get together, and there's a little bit of structure to it in terms of there's always something to learn. I'll have a workshop on design, but then there's also an outing of some kind. And now in Texas, because we're there during the Round Top Antiques Festival, the outing is sort of the big deal. That's sort of the big purpose of that retreat, is to learn how to shop that great big huge fair together, to learn how to look for things, to learn about, what might work for you and how you might bring it back into your home, and then go shopping together, which is so much fun. And we stay at this gorgeous place that in and of itself is very inspiring. It's the Vintage Round Top. It's by with Page Hall and Page and Smoot Hall. So that's a big part of it too. It's just kind of being in their environment. So I'm excited to say that we're finally going back to it. We're finally doing another retreat after having a year and a half off in October to coincide with the Round Top Fair coming up. So,
fabulous.
So I'm excited to get back to that. And then after the retreats, I decided the retreats are not inexpensive, because of travel and hotel and food. It's all inclusive. So I wanted to do something that was a little bit more affordable for people, and where I could help more people. I mean, these retreats are limited to however big the place we're staying is, so I think 9 people is the limit for the Texas one. So the course it's a makeover of one room in your home over 4 weeks, using primarily what you already have. In fact, I encourage people to not go buy anything new. And that's where I just take people through my process of
Zandra, that's just kind of mean, though.
Not shopping? Well,
there, you can't shop. What?
it's certainly allowed, but it is not a requirement. You can use what you already have. And I think the purpose of this one is really about this idea of mastering the mix of old and new, of, you know, your grandmother's hutch with your brand new sofa that looks very modern with something you got at IKEA 10 years ago. People really struggle with this. When I asked my audience and polled them about their biggest struggle, the biggest one they talked about was like, I don't know how to mix it all together, and nothing looks like it goes together. Even though people don't necessarily want matchy-matchy, they still want cohesion. And so by working with what you already have, it's a way to say, look, these things, you think they don't go together, but we will find a way to make it work. But, you know, of course you can go buy stuff if you want to. I'll never stop anyone from doing that.
Okay.
And then, so after the course came my idea to start a monthly membership, which is even more affordable for people. It's online. We do 2 projects a month. I don't overwhelm people with 4 projects or 5 projects. It's just 2 projects a month. It's all based on the slow style principles. We kind of go through the whole framework month by month. And that has been so much more fun than I imagined. I am loving the members. I'm loving being in touch with people every single month, because we also do a live call on Zoom every month. And it's just been so much fun. So everything really has come from the podcast and bloomed from there.
Impressive. I mean, it just sounds wonderful. There's so much that you offer listeners.
Thanks. It is fun. It's been amazing.
And then there's the content on the podcast as well. So you really offer so many resources for people.
Also, I just want to say I have learned so much from my people in the Slow Style Society membership and from my course and my retreats. I mean, you know, I'm open to learning as much as I am to teaching, and I have. It's been very reciprocal, which is really wonderful.
Right. When you put yourself out there, you end up learning from, like you said, you learn from listeners, and then you're doing all this research all the time. So you really do end up learning more.
I do. It's constant. And honestly, it keeps me going, because otherwise I think I would get bored or would start to feel old, or, you know, burnt out.
There's no need to feel old.
No.
Oh, well, Zandra, I'm so happy that you came on Decorating Tips and Tricks. I so much enjoyed our talk. Why don't you tell people how they can get in touch with you?
Sure. Well, Anita, this has been such a pleasure, and I can picture you because we've met in person as we're talking. So that has been really a delight. So everything you want to find out about anything I'm doing is at littleyellowcouch.com. You can find me on Instagram with the same name, littleyellowcouch.com, on Pinterest, on Facebook, all of it. But really, the best place to go is the website. And you can find the free style finder I was talking about earlier, where you can kind of define your style. You can find out about all of the other stuff, and certainly listen to the podcast from there as well. So thank you so much, Anita, for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's my pleasure, and thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, wow, Anita, I really enjoyed your conversation with Zandra. I loved that you were talking to another podcaster, especially somebody in our space. So I hope everybody heads on over and checks out Zandra's podcast.
I've been on her podcast in the past, so it was fun to talk with her again. She's a delight.
That's right. So let's link that in the show notes to here too, so everybody can hear that interview. Okay, so what's our IG feature this week?
It's one of our favorites, Milieu Magazine.
Love,
and it's
love,
produced
love.
in Houston, but I know it's one of your favorites, and it's one of mine absolute favorites. You know, there's so few print magazines left in this world. So many of the U.S. ones have just gone away. So when there's one of this quality that continues to be in print, it's just such a delight and so wonderful to have this. So it's really a beautiful print magazine. You should really go try the magazine. But also you can check them out on Instagram, because it's just such a stunning, gorgeous feed, a lot of traditional details. There's also some contemporary details here. So many gorgeous photos in here, and there's this just amazing pink stove, for example. So just
Heart. I'm hearting it now. Yeah, I love this magazine. I love their Instagram. But you know how Instagram is. I don't see it all the time. So this is one of the few accounts that I make the effort to pop over there. I'll actually go search it and find it because it doesn't always come through my feed. I absolutely love it. They're doing a wonderful job at this magazine. I'm so glad they're still in business. Every time my issue comes, I'm like so happy that it's here and they're still available to get my hands on and sit down and have a cup of tea or a glass of wine and read it through. But in the in-between, the IG is the place to be, and check it out. So that's our feature for today. We'll link it in the show notes, but you should also think about getting yourself a subscription. These are the type of magazines that I'm keeping. Mm-hmm. Lots of the other ones I'll read, I'll pull out what I want, and then I donate them to our local thrift store, but I don't give up my milieux. I have them all on in a bookshelf.
I don't blame you.
They're great references. They're like little design hardcover books almost.
Exactly. You're getting like a new book every month.
Yeah, it's well done. And last thing I'll say about it is that they don't crowd the pages. They really respect the beauty of what they're presenting and give everything room to breathe. It's just really nice to read. Green Chef is a delicious delight any time of year, but especially during the holidays. What a wonderful vision to behold as the Green Chef boxes on your doorstep. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit for eating well. And it makes eating well so easy with plans to fit every lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat a more balanced diet. So let Green Chef take the work out of eating clean this holiday season. And if you've got guests coming, shop Green Bundles. They're now available at the Green Market. It's your one-stop shop for nutritious grab-and-go breakfasts, including vegan options, brunch kits, wholesome lunches, ready-to-eat snacks, veggie sides, and more. You can feel your best this December and do your best with Green Chef because they offset 100% of the delivery emissions as well as 100% of the plastic in every box. Go to greenchef.com/60DTT and use the code 60DTT and get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months. greenchef.com/60DTT and use the code 60DTT to get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months. BritBox just keeps getting better. The new Archie is amazing. And it's not the comics. It's about Cary Grant. Archie is the brand new limited series starring Jason Isaacs as Archie Leach, the man who became Cary Grant. From the award-winning screenwriter of Philomena, Archie tells Grant's born in Britain, made in Hollywood story, the dramatic grit to glamour transformation that led him to become one of the most famous people in the world. You are going to absolutely love the acting, but also the styling, the outfits, the scenery. It's the first time his story has been told in collaboration with his daughter Jennifer Grant and ex-wife Diane Cannon. The performances from Jason Isaacs and the rest of the cast are amazing, and it's only available on BritBox. So sign up for BritBox today to stream Archie and other fan favorites from any device. And we have a special limited time offer for our U.S. and Canadian listeners. Get 50% off, yes, that's 50% off your first month when you sign up for a monthly plan. But only if you go to BritBox.com and use our promotion code DTT at checkout. You're going to love Archie. So head over right now and get 50% off your first month of BritBox. Use the promotion code DTT at BritBox.com.
Let's talk about our crushes.
Okay, you go first.
We love Hunter Boots. They make a really wonderful garden clog. I found a company in the UK that ships here, and so actually the crush is not just the Hunter garden clog, but I'm also sharing where I buy them from, which is a place called Country Attire in the UK. And the reason I'm sharing them is because often these boots and the clogs that they share, the garden clogs, are usually typically over $100 a pair if you buy them in the U.S., and some of the boots are close to $200. But they just have a really great price on this website, and I just bought a pair of the clogs for less than $50.
Wow.
I know. And if you spend $100, which you can if you buy two, then you get free shipping here. And it takes a couple weeks, but I have bought from them. So, you never know if the company's legit, but That's why I'm sharing this one, so you'll know that it's a legitimate company.
Oh, wow. Good to know. I'm going to definitely check them out. Okay, my crush is the Netflix series Dirty John. Has anyone listened to the Dirty John podcast?
They did a series on that on Netflix? I didn't know that.
Yes. I listened to the whole podcast. I am usually not a true crime podcast listener. I have had a few that I really enjoyed. I shared one a long time ago, Detective Trap, which I really liked. And the Dirty John, I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. It was fantastic. It is a true story that the LA Times covered. The story is sort of incredible. I'm really in the beginning of the Netflix show. The characters are exactly as I would have pictured them. These gals from the OC.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And he's this pretty smooth operator. The actor who's playing Dirty John is doing a really good job. But it's a real life, true story, which you can't even believe. So either watch the show and then listen to the podcast, or vice versa, or just do one of the other. It is quite shocking that this has happened, and it's a real true story. But the podcast was done so well, and the LA Times produced it. It was really well. They brought the detectives on. They're sharing the interviews. They're sharing depositions. It's great. It's really gripping.
Was it gory? Was it kind of scary?
No. Oh, no, it's not gory.
And I don't like creepy, scary stuff. Is it creepy?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not creepy, scary at all.
Oh, okay.
He's a grifter.
Okay.
He's a con man, and he takes all these women in, and no, they actually take him in, but he's taking them in. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta listen to it or watch it. It's great.
Okay, well, good. I'll check it out.
And if you are considering a design consult with Anita and I anytime soon, act now. The link will be in the show notes to schedule a consult with us, which will be amazing. We'll be so excited to talk to you, but we're going to give you such great tips and great advice and particularize it to you, your home, your needs, your wants, your desires, everything about you. So do it now, because we're booked up. We're almost completely booked up for the rest of the summer. So head to the show notes and schedule your consult today. So thanks so much for hanging out with us. We are here to inspire you to create a beautiful home. Until next time. Want to talk to us? Well, we really want to talk to you. So let's schedule a design consult. Anita and I are here to give you individualized, actionable advice on how to create the beautiful home you want and deserve. It's so easy to schedule a design consult with us. Simply click the link in the show notes or head to decoratingtipsandtricks.com/consult. When we talk to you on the scheduled time, we will be ready with so many great tips, advice, and yes, tricks. So sign up today for a design consult. We can't wait to talk to you.